Hello everybody, American Granny here. Just spent my day doing my chores that I normally do. I washed like 20 billion jars. It felt like not for real. And took care of my indoor garden, which I do have growing again, because I'm not sure what's going on in our area, but things are not growing too good. Now, we have a few situations we need to rectify, and maybe someday we'll get them done. The first one, of course, is water for the outdoor plants. We do go through several weeks of dry periods. Our soil is pretty shallow, and then you go into bedrock, and we got a lot of cracks, which lead any water you put out pretty quickly to the reservoir. So, but we got to get a bigger reserve tank for our well to be able to water properly outside, because when you can water properly outside, this place is amazing. Everything seems to grow. Of course, you got to deal with bugs. Now, I am learning a few tricks, and hopefully it'll work. I did it last time I actually ran my garden, not this last summer, or not this summer, but the summer before. I had 4 pretty good sized tomato plants, and I'd had a terrible time with hornworms, that really love your tomato leaves and the tomatoes themselves. So someone said plant rosemary around your tomatoes, and I think even deer will stay away. And I do have rosemary, so I do plan on planting some eventually. But my indoor garden right now is got all of the tomato plants I was going to plant out here, but it got too hot. They were given to me. Someone they were almost dead. I lost 1 out of the 8. I've got a couple that are still struggling, but they're starting to come around. And I got a good batch of white sage growing in there. Someday I'll walk in there and do a little video, let you see it. But I've been dry canning for the last couple of days. I'm almost done. Woohoo. Other things that I've got that I could dry can, I think that they're okay because my stuff is relatively new. I don't have a big reserve. In fact, I'm just breaking everything down to meal portions, getting it into jars and sealed up good, and going from there. I really need a pressure cooker, a decent one. I really don't have one. I have an old-fashioned one that, I don't even think it has the weights that go on the top. There's no gauges or anything. And everything I look at is way too expensive. So, but it's nice because we're getting close to fall, and that's my busy time when my garden is usually coming under harvest, And I know we're still only in September, but I didn't put my garden in this year. I do have some potatoes that I put in. They're doing pretty good. I've got some beans going. I hope they'll sprout, because I do a lot of my growing by seeds. And, it's 50-50 whether the seed is going to produce anything. And in controlled lighting and temperatures, that is not very good. It's just kind of throwing some light and some fans at it with a bit of misting. But usually they produce pretty good. Right now I'm still pretty good on my stock of herbs like rosemary, and I'd like to get some more oregano growing. It took me a while to process that so that I could put them into storage jars. And I was hoping I'd have, the only thing I had enough of that I processed was spearmint. I've got jars of, I think I've got like 10, 15 jars of fresh spearmint, and I got it jarred, and they're sealed in pretty good. Everything is dried naturally. I have a small dehydrator, but it's only good for doing things like onions, or, it was one of the cheaper ones. So my big one has issues, and I'm not even sure where it's at anymore. I think my husband stuck it somewhere to hopefully work on it. We had a lot of sand in Texas, and I used that thing a lot. I did, and it was massive. Well, not massive, but it was big, and had full trays. I think 12 trays is what it held, and it would go up to for good dry meats. It was just fantastic, and if I can get it working again, that'd be awesome, because they run about $400 or $500. But I used it. Everything my mother bought for me, I didn't know how to use, and I was like, well, I don't like to get anything and not use it. That's kind of a waste to me. And people say I'm a prepper, and I say no, I'm a survivor, because preppers, they get this great big stock built up. I have never been able to do that. Everything I grow has been used. I've never had enough space to grow, a garden. I might get a little bit of leftover that I can share with my neighbors, and of course did. But it's not very often. And I love my tomatoes, and so I've got 6 tomato plants growing, or 7. I've got 1 okra plant growing, and it's starting to really pop and put out some good okra for me. And I don't know if I got a cantaloupe that I rescued from the garden, the yard, and I'm not sure if it's going to produce any fruit, but it sure is growing and putting out beautiful flowers. And I've been doing the hand pollinating. I know some plants self-pollinate. I don't know about cantaloupes, but the brand that I grew were, of course, heirloom, but it only put out maybe grapefruit size cantaloupes. It never put out these great big ones, and I figured part of that was our growing here is kind of temperamental, and the insects can get pretty bad because we are in the woods. So don't let anybody josh you about that, because I've got trees, especially in the back half and from that way going off this way, that I need to clear back away from the house. And I can also get that, because we're on a high point, get that area opened up for a great garden. But as I don't know if you can see it, I have to carry this with me, but that's all forest, and there's probably 20, 30 trees that have to be taken out of there, maybe even more than that. And some of those trees are small enough I can cut them down myself, but some of them are 30 and 40 foot tall. So my husband does those, but I'm pretty good at getting in there and getting small ones out. Except this summer, my heart has really given me a hard time, so I have not been able to do that. And I really miss it, because I enjoy that kind of thing. I enjoy producing and making things, and that's, I think, what humans are designed to do. I know technology wants us to go idle, but my body doesn't like idle. If I'm idle too long, my feet swell, my circulation, my legs goes bad, and I start having muscle spasms. Nah, I'm much better off up and around. Um, we're not supposed to have any rain today, so I did a little bit of watering because I still have some Egyptian walking onions out here, and I have my white sage was just about decimated from the heat. But I also have rose bushes because I like to drink rose tea, and it's just from the leaves, and I'll sweeten it with the flowers. So just plop them in there, no bag, no tea, no, you just throw them in the cup, and as they let out their juices into your hot water, you wait it, a few minutes, and the aroma will just wake you up. And I have some in the house that I like to use, especially when I get some body aches and I have them for days. My arthritis starts hurting me. Then I will turn around and go make me up some rose leaf and flower tea. And I do use my dehydrator, my small one, to dehydrate the petals. Not the leaves, just the flower petals, so they don't turn all black and icky on me. Because that's when yuck. But flowers actually have a natural sweetener in them. It's to attract pollination. And I've got this one rose bush that I just adore, and it really has taken well to our area, even with the dry spells that we've had. As soon as we get a little bit of rain, it's popping with beautiful roses. Now this year I have not been collecting and harvesting them. I know a lot of people like to do the pruning and all that to their roses. They don't like them to grow kind of wild. But I found that the healthiest rose bushes that I can grow are the ones I don't really prune. And at the first couple years, they will be kind of scrawny looking. But after that, they will begin to really pop out these incredibly bushy, beautiful roses. And now most of the roses I have are hybrids. I could not actually find just a regular, and starting from rose hips is very difficult if you don't know what you're doing. But I needed some, and I knew that the hybrids, after the first year, when they began to really grow again the next year, they're going to sprout out whatever it is that they are hybrided with. And I've got one bush over here. I've had it now 2.5, almost 3 years. It was the first one I bought. We bought 2 of them, I think, or 3, and only one survived. And it is still growing healthy, but it throws out its long vines. Now I've got to make up some trellises for those vines to do their thing, because otherwise, you're running into them and all kinds of stuff. But that's another job for another time. Right now, I'm actually still unpacking from our move here 2 years ago. That's amazing. I'm still unpacking. I'm still having my husband occasionally bringing in boxes for me to go through things so I can get rid of stuff. Right now, well, not right now, but this afternoon I was cleaning out our storage shed over here on the back side of the house, and the wasps had really made themselves some wonderful nests in there. And we've got a bunch of garbage in there that I need to get out, get rid of, get it burned. An animal or a squirrel. Can't tell. If you look around and you hear sounds out here, of course, every animal will stop moving. But you turn your head, they'll go back to it. That means you're not interested. But I thought today, I've gone through a lot of my drying goods, and I've got my jars filling up now. It's just me and my husband, so I've been setting up, just like portions of rice that I use normally for a meal. Usually 1.5 cups, 2 cups, and my old-fashioned jar, or my old jelly jars, work great. I get those jars heated up in a little bit of a water bath, and they pop, 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 and seal them up good. So, of course, I keep everything airing at first, because I wash, like the rice I'm processing right now is probably 3 to 4 years old. Has not expired, it's still good rice. Takes a little longer to cook because I haven't processed it like I normally would do. So that's what I'm doing now. And, I'll have, well, it looks like by the time I'm done, enriched rice, I'm going to have about 15, 20 little, 12-ounce jars, I think they are, the jelly jars. And I save every kind of glass jar I can. Lids, that's another thing, all on its own. Yeah, this is I love my mom cup. I think it was either my mom's or it was my sister Patty's. I never got to ask before they passed away. But I enjoy drinking out of it. It makes me think of them when I see it, It's quiet right now. My husband has to work tonight, so he's sleeping, and I thought, okay, I got so much done. I got rice that's draining and drying, and I got rice that is in jars with its seals on the paper seals, so that I can make sure, I go through and shake them up to make sure there's absolutely no moisture left and they're not sticking in the jars. And I let them sit like that for 24, 48 hours sometimes. Depends on how busy I am. But I got rid of the dirt dobber nests. Oh, there was a bunch of them that were in my shed. All because I'm trying to find my clothesline rope. Because I want to set up a clothesline, a temporary one. It doesn't have to be a permanent one. I was thinking about having my husband set it up from the shed across to the porch. All I need is my line. And it's more so that I don't have to run my dryer for as long. Because I ration, I don't know about you, but I do ration my electricity, how much I use. We actually do rely on our smaller electronics more than we do the big stuff, because it drains so much electricity, and you spend probably $50 or more just on the big stuff. So I don't use it much. I only do laundry on days that I don't have to run the air conditioner. If I gotta do laundry, it will sit there. My husband and I have enough clothes between the two of us to fill a large closet, and we have gotten rid of a bunch of stuff. But we've got some big chores to do, but my husband really doesn't want to do them. I know he enjoys watching other people. I've got a guy that's from Estonia, and I love to watch his channel. He's always got some kind of project. He lives in a forested area, and he processes a lot of his own wood and that kind of thing. He's just a down-to-earth guy, and I really like him. And his family, is very charming. What little we get to see of them, his channel is about, his day-to-day routine, which varies all the time. Now, mine does the same thing. I don't have a kind of routine because as soon as I finish my dry goods, I'm done with that part of it. And as soon as my tomatoes are starting to put out good tomatoes in enough of an abundance, I'll be making up my tomato, chopped tomatoes, preserving my spaghetti sauce and stuff like that. And I prefer mine coming off the plants. Yeah, I have to kind of be patient, and with the growing space I have and the lighting system that I have to really watch my P's and Q's. But I try to keep my, I guess you call it carbon footprint down. I just, I don't buy into this shit anymore with the carbon thing. When I found out that New York, and this is true, you can look it up, it's been on the news, New York requires you to pay a carbon tax, which was supposed to be, under the law when it was created, was supposed to be for these large companies that are pumping out so much carbon and other junk, not just carbon. But I found out in New York, they literally are charging each person a carbon tax for breathing, for shitting. I was just, this is just a monopoly. This is fraud. Charging people a tax to breathe and to go to the bathroom? Have you lost your mind? New York, yes, you've lost your mind. But you agreed to be a sanctuary city. You got that coming. That's your comeuppance, as my mama would say. I don't know about y'all, but to be charged for being born is bad enough, because your parents pay a birth tax when you have your children. And if you support your children, you get a tax credit at the end of the year. But you really need that money all throughout the year, so why the heck are you paying for it? It should not be a thing. And when you die, I have to have money in the bank to pay because I died. Pay a tax, a death tax. And, I mean, yeah. Our country has gone so overboard with taxation for life and death and liberty and freedoms that we don't have a government. We have a corporate office. And that's your president, whoever it may be. And believe me, a lot of CEOs and VPs and all that get fired all the time at corporations when they get caught breaking the laws. And if you think our government is any different, you need a good cup of coffee and to sit down and kind of watch some news. Sorry, but when you see what your country has become, it's overwhelming in a way. It makes you just want to immediately turn it off. If the American population were aware how close we are to going to war with China and Russia, you might stop your belly aching about what you have and start worrying about losing what you have. Because a war is going to take it all. If you think I'm wrong, look at any of our past wars and what the government took with no payment for it. They just took it. And that includes people's land, so they had places for their encampments and their soldiers. That includes people's homes. That includes their food stock. Look into the wars, and for real, I know it's everything you find out there on the internet is kind of a skim over. It doesn't give you any valuable information, so you have to actually ask those questions. Were there times when the Bluecoats during the Civil War that they went hungry? You have to actually type that in. If you don't ask the question, you're not going to find that answer, because it's kind of omitted to make the wars look like they weren't so hard to endure. They weren't hard to endure for our leaders to the extent that it was for the soldiers. And that has been in every case. But right now, China is picking on the Philippines, and they're our ally. So we got China and Russia both doing it. And they've been coming into international United States ocean waters. And they're monitoring where our cables are running for our infrastructure. So I know you people don't want to hear it. And you're just going to keep working until you're dead, right? Well, if you have any kids, what is their life going to be like if you're not ready for it? And I'm not talking about prepping. I'm talking about what are you going to have to do when you got soldiers marching up in your yard saying, we're going to need this place for a hospital for our injured, we're going to need you to go gather up food, and they're going to get the whole community. They're not going to just get yours. And if you think you can say no, they just shoot you, confiscate, and take what they need to keep fighting the war. Yeah. I know Americans don't like reality. I've seen that with the woke agenda. They are about no kind of reality. They are about living in a little fantasy bubble world where you're always offended and basically you've lost your mind. I'm sorry. But there are civil ways to behave that can make life for everybody better. But who cares? Gangs are ruling, and now we've got Venezuelan gangs ruling, and oh my goodness, I have to tell you. I've been here this month 60 years in this life. And I've seen it hit some bumpy spots. But the last 40 years of my life, I have watched between Republicans and Democrats and independents destroying our country. Democrats are now shutting down our food source for data centers that they're not supposed to even be collecting. So, you make what you can of it. That's kind of what I do. That's how I get by. But I don't turn a blind eye to what's happening around me either. And each state's actions has a consequence on all the other states. They don't think so. They don't take it that way, but that is how it is. Sorry, I think I've got some deer moving around or something. Is that sound? It's not our wheelbarrow, it's right there. Okay, folks. Anyway, I've had my coffee. It's almost 4:30, and I gotta go back to cleaning rice and cleaning jars and get my dry goods done. I may take a break while I let that all dry and go work some more on the back shed. I gotta get in there. I got a huge, all my tools are in there. And since we've moved here, we filled it with everything. I can't get into it. I can't get to any of my tools. And that really bothers me. That was a good little workshop. It was the first time I've ever had one. So my husband's got his, and I want mine back. So I got a busted fish tank that I've got to get rid of and get out of there, because it's just taking up space. And giving the dirt dobbers a great place to make their nests. And I don't want to deal with them. I like my dirt dobbers. They have a good purpose, and they're very useful and helpful in my area, so I try not to kill too many of them. But I destroy nests when they're on my house or they're under my house, because they will get into your walls, they'll get into your roof, and you kind of got to keep up with that maintenance, you know. Anyway, I think some of the sounds I'm hearing are actually squirrels, because I saw some stuff falling from the tree. So, alrighty folks, I love y'all, and it was really nice just sitting and talking with y'all. Kind of miss doing my videos like I used to. And American Granny out. Love y'all. Oh, don't forget to like, comment, share. Those things really do help a small channel, and if you'd subscribe, that would be a great help. That would be a great help. So, alrighty. Love y'all.